Just 30 minutes before President William Ruto issued that statement, a statement on the state of the nation in State House, Uhuru Kenyatta sent a press release in the newsrooms here. And I want us to make a comparison, and you will see why there is real test of leadership. William Ruto's speech, there is no way the whole country can be wrong except you and the 49 members of parliament. That speech lacks empathy, fatherly love, and a typical high school dining hall captain speech, or the high school principal who is scolding at students who had maybe protested in over something in school, but they're being sent to go and ask the parents are going to pay. The school is at a loss, but the high school principal is scolding at students. In our case, it's a bit different, and I think the president would have done better than that. I want to share with you what Uhuru Kenyatta shared. This is the statement by former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Let's just read it because I want us to get the tone. My fellow Kenyans, I come to you with a heavy heart, saddened by the loss of lives occasioned by the current situation prevailing in our country. It is the right of every Kenyan to protest as determined by the Constitution we all promulgated in 2010. It is also the duty of leader to listen to those they lead. At this trying time for our country, I want to remind all leaders that they were elected by the people. Listening to the people is not a choice but a mandate enshrined in the principles of our Constitution and in the very basis and philosophy of democracy. He continues to say, leaders must know that power and authority they have is donated to them by the people. I therefore call for calm and for the leadership to show restraint and do the right thing by listening to the people and not be antagonistic to them. Violence on either side is not the answer. I like the word antagonistic. The person who was writing this speech on behalf of former president I think is a very good subscriber of this channel. How many times do I normally use that word? And when I talk about the protest, I normally say the antagonistic combative approach of those in power is themselves turning them into rebels. You look a rebel when you take antagonistic angle. As your former president, I have felt the weight and the difficulty of leading Kenya. I therefore pray for wisdom and civility to be established and for peace and progress to belong to all of us as children of Kenya. Dear Kenyans, I stand with you and I ask our leaders to embrace dialogue and speak to the people and not at the people. I pray for peace and understanding on the part of each and every Kenyan, and for all of us to remember that Kenya is bigger than one of us. And so that one of us is the president. There is nothing cast in stone that cannot be changed. God bless Kenya, and that and that. Uhuru Kenyatta's speech is what this is the speech. Let me say the first two, the first paragraph and the second last two paragraphs, the last three paragraphs. Yes, actually, if you remove just the second paragraph, Uhuru Kenyatta would have given this speech to the President Ruto, and he would rather read this speech. Because at this time, Uhuru is acknowledging that indeed it is very difficult to lead a nation. He's acknowledging that. And he's also acknowledging that there are rights of the people, or rather is also feeling empathy with those who've lost their lives. But he's also saying that no one person is above all of us. The lessons we need to learn. If youths can storm the parliament and take the sergeant at arm gown, take the mess, Senate, the mess, and go with it, and parliamentarians have now to scamper for safety, is there a sacred place in this country? I thank President Uhuru for this, because this is what the nation wants. This is what the country should be told. We understand, and the people that wrote President William Ruto's speech, I think, did a very bad disservice to him, especially at this critical time. We normally don't want listening to President Ruto, but for the sake of this analysis, I want us to compare the two, and so have a snippet of what is said there. Then we'll come back and compare, and what did they got wrong.
Today, Kenya experienced an unprecedented attack on its democracy, rule of law, and the integrity of its constitutional institutions. An otherwise legitimate expression of the fundamental rights and freedoms of assembly, demonstration, picketing, and petitioning of public authorities by a section of law-abiding citizens of the Republic of Kenya was infiltrated and hijacked by a group of organized criminals. Most regrettably, today's attack on Kenya's constitutional order has resulted in the loss of lives, also destruction of property and desecration of institutions and emblems of our sovereignty. Today's events mark a critical turning point on how we respond to grave threats to our national security. I assure the nation that the government has mobilized all resources at the nation's disposal to ensure that a situation of this nature will not recur again at whatever cost. I thank our security officers who were on duty today for applying themselves to the best of their abilities in the defense of Kenya and its people. Accordingly, I have directed all the organs of our national security to deploy measures to thwart any attempt by dangerous criminals to undermine the security and stability of our country. As the people of Kenya go to bed tonight, I give you my assurance that your security, that of your families and property, remains my utmost priority. To the young people of Kenya, who I must thank for helping our country organize our democratic discourse around issues, I thank you and assure you that the conversation you have begun around pertinent issues of our nation will continue to inform our policy and governance decisions. As I promised on Sunday, this conversation will not be in vain. I will not only champion for the cause of issue-based, policy-oriented, and tribeless engagement on critical national issues, but also provide a framework for this conversation to be processed and its outcomes implemented. However, our national conversation on any subject matter must be conducted in a manner that respects and honors the foundational values upon which our nation is established, namely constitutionalism, the rule of law, and respect for institutions. It is very painful for Kenya that a conversation this crucial was hijacked by dangerous people who have caused us the kind of loss we have incurred as a nation today. It is possible that the criminals who rained terror on innocent people and attempted to challenge our law enforcement deployments are still determined to continue with their dangerous behavior. I assure the nation of the government's determination to fulfill its constitutional duty of protecting the people of Kenya against all forms of harm. I hereby put on notice the planners, financiers, orchestrators, and abettors of violence and anarchy that the security infrastructure established to protect our republic and its sovereignty will be deployed to secure the country and restore normalcy. It is not in order or even conceivable that criminals pretending to be peaceful protesters can rain terror against the people, their elected representatives, and the institutions established under our Constitution and expect to go scot-free. We must isolate crime from democratic expression and separate criminals from people exercising the freedom of expression and divergent opinion. I shall continue to lead a government that is fully committed to maintaining the integrity of our state, promoting the unity of our nation, and enhancing the peace and security of all citizens and their livelihoods. I am bound under sacred constitutional mandate to respect, uphold, and defend the Constitution of Kenya, which declares that all sovereign power belongs to the people, and that this power shall be exercised only in accordance with the Constitution. The government will therefore uphold its constitutional mandate to secure our nation and its development, and shall treat every threat to national security and the integrity of our state as an existential danger to our republic. Accordingly, I assure Kenyans that we shall provide a full, effective, and expeditious response to today's treasonous events. Thank you.
So if you compare that speech with what former President Uhuru Kenyatta also shared, they're two different worlds. When the President of the Republic of Kenya was coming in public, everyone, in the light of what had happened for better part of the day, everyone had to stop what they are doing to look at the screens, just to find out what is the president going to tell the country now. We've all been looking for that answer. We've all been seeking those answers. What was the president going to tell the nation at this time? I'm so interested in that. And in his appearance, I've realized he's made that lonely speech. No security chiefs. I remember when Ogola died, there were no security chiefs. They were all security chiefs. No deputy, no He made that speech alone. And from the word go, he came out combative and not compassionate. Because while those in power believe that there was a threat, and it's true, that was a civilian coup. I agree. I agree with the president. That was a civilian coup. And while you agree with the people, while you feel that your power is threatened, but that power is donated by the people. So you must also feel empathy that in the midst of all that, people have lost their lives. Yes. And he's come out as, he's come out as one person who has lost something, like watu wamechomewa nyumba. Yani he's just come out protecting the interest of the elected. And I've had a statement and a promise that that will never happen again. By the way, that was not even supposed to happen in the first place, leave alone happening again. That is something we could avoid as a nation. We could avoid as a nation. And I think it is not bad to speak to the nation. We need to dialogue and understand. This thing is the deep-rooted issues. Some of us have been doing political analysis and we've been saying we need to reboot this country. We need to reboot this country. If you listen to what other Kenyans were saying out there, by the way, even if now, if I've seen the president talk about this, but if you're to call for an election now, William Ruto will lose terribly. And even if I'm the person who's going to be on, even if you take, I don't know, even if you take a musician, you take Bahati against Tali against William Ruto, Ruto will lose. He will lose if an election is to be called today. So what we are saying here is, he did not come out with a wider view. He took a very narrow perspective of, I've mobilized police. That's almost known. It's not new that you're mobilizing police. Even before this, police were mobilized, military has been deployed. That is not anything new. That is something that those protesters Kenyans have seen. It's all over in the media and they have seen. So even if you check the body language, when William Ruto is coming out, that speech took long because the press release, the media invite came out, I think, around 7. And that press release was supposed to be at 9. The reason why they wanted to be at 9 is because that was at the top of the hour. So it was going to get maximum viewership so that most Kenyans were going to look at that. But we didn't see, look at this. The MPs whose houses have been burnt, the MP who was assaulted, their carrier offices banned, their county government, there's a county assembly in Machakos was also attacked, and I think even ransacked. So it's not easy. It's not just simple to say it's it. After the incident in Parliament in CBD, the team that was heading to Githurai engaged police, and some people have also been shot on that other end. So it has not been a thing of one day. I think we underestimated the protest. And we could get, there is something we needed to get right. In fact, I was just talking to, someone have just called me after watching the previous video. There is something that I think the president handlers must look at. Why is it that after storming Parliament, is when all these other things, the muggings, the attack on the shops and the attacks on the State House in Nakuru and everywhere, all those things, how is it they happened after people invading Parliament? And you will remember that at that point, it was where the live shooting was. So after the reports about the shooting, things went bad. And the reason why I'm saying William Ruto had a narrow approach of this is, if you believe that it was an attack on the sovereign here, then how about the protest in Eldoret? How about Laikipia? How about Nyeri? How about Embu? How about Kericho? How about Kisumu? And you're talking about perpetrators and people who funded, mobilized, and all that. Now, some 5 issues on President's speech, 4 rather. It is silent about the issues, but prominent about the individuals. There is a point of the issues and the situation. The president is not talking about the situation. The president is talking about individuals. People who, according to him, are the individuals that, either someone who funded, someone who coordinated, someone who, but I think we did not give it a wider view because this is a situation. I believe we were supposed to address the situation and tone down the nation. Ceasefire. Hatuwezi pigana, hatuwezi argue. No one wants violence, by the way. No one wants violence. We all want peace. So I wish we take that angle. I'm not hearing of the word peace in that speech. Maybe I did not pay attention, but I did not hear the word peace in that speech. Those are some of the most dominant words I was expecting there. Number 2, profiling of protesters as criminals was a miscalculation. Profiling of protesters as criminals was a miscalculation. It was a miscalculation in the sense that I agree, and I want to agree with this. All who are in town, people could have been there for the good cause, for the protest. And it is also possible that some criminal elements hijacked it. Then they vandalized, like people who vandalized the shops, those are criminals. But as the president and someone with all that machinery and the intelligence around him, he would also have thought that criminals, that script of criminals being planted is not new. And sometime, Sonko said they used to do that so that they blame on it. The people that went to parliament, are they the ones that broke into the shops? Probably no. So there were criminals that had criminal acts. I totally agree with that. But there were protesters too. The protesters too. So when you look, that was about, and this is a mistake. I remember in Mount Kenya, when Maina Kajeka was drawing crowds, that was in December, those young people were called Mungiki. And it brought up, it really came up, and they blamed the president. So remember, not all those children are criminals. But they all, watu wengi, there were criminal elements, but they were protesters. But the big issue is on the protest. How we arrived there is the situation, is the question. Number 3. The recycling of old tricks of threats. Even Kindiki issued a statement yesterday, and I think Ruto has failed to strike a balance between the empathy on humanity grounds and the show of power. The show of raw power. I think that speech was just to show the country that I am in charge, I am not going anywhere, I am in power. But has failed to show empathy for the situation. The empathy on Kenyans talking about how things are not working in the government. In fact, I can say, if I was William Ruto, there are quick wins you can do. Find a way you can say, no MP is going to fly out of the country. No minister is going to fly out of the country. Himself is not going to fly out of the country. Local travels, you're going to use KQ. Just put things and get, if you're found stealing money, let the public stone you. Say that. Try to find things, quick wins, so that you show that you are interested. Because the things people are saying in the streets are not even finance bill. I said it. It's not about finance bill. And it's not about Gen Z. Like for now, do you want to believe it's Gen Z? Now they've turned, it's not Gen Z. And we kept on saying everyone is in it. Thank you, guys. Let's look at why Megu Hitman has left the country.
Thank you, guys. So, thank you, guys. So, I'm already in Kiambu, Karabaine. As I promised you, I was going to visit Mom Evans. Mama Evans at the just a word, just to confirm, and for the order of farms, then also gave our contribution to this. We said we wanted to stand in solidarity with Mama. Mama, on behalf of the bold charity team that I represent, on behalf of my own family, my mom is also a mother like you. I remember I'm going to and I end up here. Let's share. God give you strength. It's not very easy to do the first time. Some of us are still young, but this is something very big. Tunajua Mungu atakutetea. So just say what? As you take.
Nashukuru sana Mama Evans Kiratu, nimefurahia kutembelewa, nimepokea hiyo token kunisaidia kuzika the best Evans. Ni asante sana maombi yenu, vile mnatuangalia, vile mnatuonyesha nasi tunaona. Asante sana kutupatia school.
Asante. So guys, Mama has told us kwamba Evans atazikwa on Friday. Yeah, Evans atazikwa on Friday. So there are still other plans. Postmortem finally haikufanyika. Tukiingia ulikuwa ifanyika haikufanyika. Yeah, itafanyika on Monday. Because for postmortem was
5K.
It's 5K. Alafu na the other post. So Evans will be buried here kwa hii boma on Friday. God willing, if we can also get time, to small and have the witness so that and thank you very much, guys. This was a one-day notice. I'm finally here, and this is what I say: there is solution beyond journalism, and thank you for coming through to be part of this solution, because we cannot sit and complain and just report without being part of the solution. Asante sana.